Jake had never imagined that a simple message could change his life. It came one quiet evening while he was working in the research station, on the outskirts of the human settlement on Zoria 7. The message was strange, almost hypnotic. Come to my home. I want you to see something important. Lyria. He stared at the text for a long time, unsure if it was a prank or some strange cultural custom of the aliens they had been studying. Curiosity, stronger than fear, finally won. Jake had met Lyria during a brief diplomatic mission months ago. She was unlike any being he had ever met, tall, graceful, with glowing emerald eyes that seemed to see through every lie and fear. Her presence was powerful, calming, and somehow intimate. Despite the vast differences between their species, he remembered the way she had tilted her head at him. Her curiosity almost human, her smile both inviting and mysterious. Now, standing at the edge of the planet's dense forest, he looked up at the glowing doorway she had described. It hovered slightly above the ground, framed with alien runes that pulsed faintly in rhythm with his heartbeat. The air around it shimmered with an energy he could feel even through his suit. It was silent to silent, almost unnerving, but the pull to step forward was irresistible. When he finally took the first step through the doorway, Jake's breath caught. He was not in a building, at least not one he could recognize. The interior seemed alive. The walls curved like waves, glowing with soft light that shifted in color from pale blue to deep violet. The floor beneath him was smooth, almost liquid in appearance, and he felt as though he was walking on moving water without ever slipping. The air smelled faintly sweet, like flowers he had never known existed. It was beautiful, otherworldly, and frightening all at once. Jake felt a mixture of awe and doubt. Could he, a simple human, really belong here? Could he navigate a world where every element seemed alive and aware? The answer came almost immediately. From the far end of the hall, a figure appeared, tall, graceful, and luminous. Lyria. She moved toward him with a fluidity that made him question the very laws of motion. Her eyes sparkled with warmth, and her voice, when she finally spoke, was like a song he could feel in his chest. "You came," she said simply. "Yes," Jake managed, his voice hoarse. I wanted to see." Lyria smiled and extended her hand. The moment he touched it, a strange sensation ran through him. It wasn't pain, nor was it pleasure, it was connection. A deep, unspoken understanding. Then he noticed something behind her, shadows moving with deliberate grace. Shapes that were not human, yet unmistakably alive. Jake froze. He was not alone in this home. More figures emerged from the shadows, each one unique. Some had luminous skin that reflected the shifting light, others had long, flowing limbs that seemed to stretch and bend in impossible ways. Their eyes, all of them focused on him, curious, observing, studying. Jake's heart raced. He wanted to run, to leave, but he felt an invisible tether pulling him forward, toward something he could not yet understand. Lyria's voice broke the silence. "These are my sisters," she explained. "We live together. We share our lives. I wanted you to see that you are not the first human to visit, but perhaps the first to be trusted." The words hit Jake harder than he expected. Trust from beings so ancient, so powerful, it was not something humans often received. And yet here he was, standing in the center of an alien home, feeling strangely at peace. Despite the strangeness, despite the fear. As he stepped further inside, he realized this was no ordinary house. It was a living space, a sanctuary, a place where every sound, every glow, every movement was part of a larger rhythm. Jake could feel it in his bones. He had crossed a threshold, not just into a building, but into a world that would change him forever. He didn't know what awaited him beyond this first step, but one thing was certain: this journey, this strange encounter with Lyria and her sisters, was going to be unlike anything he had ever experienced. And deep down, he felt a spark of excitement, a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, he had found a place where he could belong, even if only for a little while. Jake's heart pounded as he took another step into the shimmering interior. The shadows he had glimpsed earlier began to take shape. One by one, alien women emerged from hidden corners, each unlike the other, yet connected by a strange harmony. Some had hair like liquid silver that floated around them as if underwater. Others had translucent skin that glowed faintly with their heartbeat. A few moved with long, elegant limbs that seemed to bend without effort, carrying an almost hypnotic rhythm in their motion. He froze, unsure whether to speak or to remain silent. Lyria sensed his hesitation and moved closer, her hand brushing lightly against his arm. "Do not fear them," she said softly, her voice gentle like the wind brushing through autumn leaves. "They are my sisters, and they mean no harm. They wish only to understand you." Jake swallowed hard. Understanding? Humans rarely understood each other, let alone beings from another species. And yet, there was something in the way the aliens watched him, an intensity that was not threatening, but probing, curious, deeply aware. He felt exposed, as though every thought he had ever hidden was visible to them. One of the women approached him, her eyes deep pools of violet light. She tilted her head, observing him with silent patience. Jake hesitated, then nodded politely. She reached out a delicate hand, and he dared to touch it. A warmth spread through his body, not just physical, but emotional. As if the contact spoke directly to his soul. He felt memories, feelings, and fragments of her life swirl in his mind, a lifetime of experiences. Laughter, sorrow, and love condensed into a single touch. Jake staggered slightly, overwhelmed by the intensity. Lyria steadied him. "Do not be afraid," she said. "You are experiencing what we share with each other every day. Our lives are intertwined. We see, we feel, we understand one another completely." The other alien women gathered around him, forming a circle. Their presence was dizzying, beautiful, and terrifying all at once. They communicated without words, a melody of glances, gestures, and subtle vibrations in the air. Lyria translated some of it for him. "They wish to know your heart, your intentions, your truth. This is how we welcome someone into our world." Jake felt a wave of vulnerability wash over him. He had always been proud of his courage, his ability to survive difficult missions, to navigate dangerous planets. But this was different. Here, bravery was not about strength or skill, it was about honesty. About opening yourself completely to beings whose understanding far surpassed your own. One of the women stepped closer and placed her hand on his chest, over his heart. A surge of emotion hit him like a tidal wave, fear, hope, longing, and an unexpected connection that he could not explain. He realized that despite the differences in species, despite centuries of separation between their worlds, there was something universal about care, about trust, about the desire to connect. Lyria smiled at him knowingly. "They will accept you," she said. "But first, you must accept them. Not as aliens, not as curiosities, but as beings who are real, who live, who feel. This is the bridge between our worlds." Jake took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he saw not strangers or creatures from some far galaxy, but living beings reaching out, offering friendship and understanding in the purest form. He nodded slowly, a silent promise passing between him and the circle of alien women. Suddenly, laughter echoed softly round the hall, light and musical, like chimes in a gentle breeze. Jake couldn't help but smile, his fear melting away into wonder. He realized that this was more than a home. This was a sanctuary, a place where emotions were honored, where connection was valued above all else. And in that moment, Jake understood something he had never realized before. He might be the first human to step into this home, but he was not the first to feel its truth. For the first time, he felt a fragile, shimmering hope that maybe, in this alien world, he had found not just curiosity and beauty but belonging. After what felt like hours of walking through softly glowing halls, Lyria finally stopped before a doorway unlike any Jake had seen. It was wider than the others, its frame shaped like a crescent moon, with faint golden light spilling from within. A delicate fragrance floated toward him, sweet and earthy, almost like rain on warm soil. He hesitated, but Lyria gently took his hand and guided him inside. The sight took his breath away. He was standing in a vast garden. It felt more alive than any garden he had ever known. Plants grew in impossible colors, their leaves shimmering like glass, their flowers pulsing with a soft light. Some seemed to float in midair, swaying gently as if moved by invisible currents. Pools of water reflected a sky that didn't exist, colors bending and blending like melted paint. Every step Jake took made a soft sound, as if the ground itself was alive and listening. One of the alien women knelt by a glowing plant, her long fingers brushing against its petals. As she touched it, the flower opened, revealing what looked like tiny, flickering memories trapped inside. Jake blinked in astonishment. Lyria noticed his wonder. "This is our memory garden," she explained. "Each plant holds a memory of someone we have loved or cared for. They live here, in our sanctuary. If you touch them, you can see and feel fragments of their lives." Jake's curiosity overcame his caution. He reached for a small, glowing flower, its light warm against his palm. Instantly, images flooded his mind, a human child laughing under a sunlit sky, a family gathering filled with warmth, simple moments of kindness and joy. He stumbled back slightly, overwhelmed by the vividness. These were not just memories, they were emotions, frozen yet alive, carrying the depth of life itself. "This is incredible," Jake whispered, his voice trembling. "They're alive. Not just plants, but people, their experiences, their feelings." Lyria smiled, her eyes shining with understanding. "Yes, we value life in all its forms. Memories, emotions, bonds, they are sacred. This garden reminds us of our past and teaches us empathy, compassion, and trust. Humans often overlook these things, but here, they are everything. Jake moved slowly through the garden, touching each plant carefully, feeling each memory as it flashed through him. He felt happiness, fear, sorrow, even small regrets from lives he had never known. Each memory made his heart ache, but it also inspired a deep appreciation for the alien women and their way of life. He realized they did not just live, they cherished existence in ways humans rarely did. "Do you understand now?" Lyria asked softly, stepping beside him. "This is why we live together. We share not just space, but understanding, emotion, and care. Everything here is connected. Every life, every memory, every heartbeat belongs to all of us." Jake nodded, overwhelmed. For a moment, he felt tears prick his eyes. Humans were often isolated, driven by competition, fear, and survival. But these beings, these alien women, had built a world where trust and empathy were not optional, they were essential. As he looked around, he realized the significance of their invitation. Lyria had not simply asked him to visit her home. She had invited him into a living lesson in understanding. A glimpse into a culture that valued the unseen, the emotional, the eternal. And somehow, even as a human, he felt that he belonged, if only just a little. A soft humming sound began to fill the garden. The plants pulsed in rhythm, as if responding to some unseen melody. Jake felt his heartbeat align with the pulse, a strange harmony that made him feel lighter, calmer, connected. He glanced at Lyria, who simply nodded. No words were needed. In that moment, Jake understood something profound. Life was not just about surviving or achieving. It was about feeling, connecting, and remembering. And here, in this alien garden, he had glimpsed a way of living that transcended species, that honored the essence of life itself. For the first time in his life, he did not feel like a stranger. He felt like a guest, a student, and perhaps, one day, a part of something far greater than himself. The soft glow of the memory garden faded behind them as Jake followed Lyria deeper into the house. The hallways curved and twisted in ways that made his senses reel. The walls pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat, and he couldn't help but feel that the building itself was alive, watching him. Measuring him. As they reached a large circular chamber, Jake noticed a shift in the atmosphere. The warmth and calm he had felt in the garden were replaced by a tense, almost electric energy. Dozens of alien women had gathered, forming a ring around the room. Their eyes glowed faintly, some gold, some silver, and all focused on him. He felt a shiver run down his spine. Lyria turned to him, her expression serious. "This is a test," she said. "A test of heart, mind, and intention. You must show them that you are worthy of our trust, not through strength, but through understanding, honesty, and empathy. It will not be easy." Jake swallowed hard. He had faced dangerous planets, rogue creatures, and life-threatening missions, but nothing had prepared him for this. These women did not speak in words at first, but through subtle movements, gestures, postures, shifts in the air around them. Their presence was overwhelming. Every glance seemed to carry weight. Every tilt of a head held meaning he could not immediately grasp. The first woman stepped forward. Her long fingers extended as if offering him something invisible. A strange energy radiated from her touch. Jake hesitated, unsure if he should respond. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then, recalling what he had learned in the memory garden, he focused on his own emotions' truth. Vulnerability, courage. Slowly, he extended his hand. As their fingers brushed, Jake felt an unexpected wave of understanding flow through him. He could sense fragments of her life, emotions he could not name yet somehow understood. Joy, fear, hope, regret, all intertwined, forming a tapestry he had never experienced. He realized that this was not just a test of him, but a sharing of life itself. One by one, other women approached, each interaction more intense than the last. Jake felt himself grow dizzy from the flood of feelings, struggling to maintain his own sense of self. But he kept his mind open, responding with honesty and sincerity. He spoke softly, not words of speech, but words of feeling, showing that he did not come to deceive or manipulate. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. Time felt distorted, and then, slowly, the room's tension began to ease. The women stepped back, their movements fluid and deliberate. A quiet hum filled the chamber, like a sigh of approval. Lyria approached Jake, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. "You have done well," she said. "Not all humans could have endured this. You have not only shown courage, but compassion. You have seen us not as beings to fear, but as lives to respect. That is what matters." Jake exhaled, a mix of relief and exhaustion washing over him. He realized he had been tested not for strength, but for empathy, something humans often overlooked. And yet, he had passed, not through skill or intelligence, but by opening his heart, but trusting and being trusted in return for the first time. He felt that he truly belonged in this alien home, even if only as a guest. He understood the depth of their connections, the careful balance of emotion and trust that bound them together. And he realized something else: he had been given a rare gift, a glimpse into a way of life, where vulnerability was strength, and where understanding bridged the gap between worlds. Lyria smiled, her eyes warm again. "Rest now," she said. "Tomorrow, you will see more. But tonight, remember this: trust is fragile yet powerful. It can build bridges that no walls or distance can break. You have taken your first step across that bridge, human." Jake nodded, feeling an unfamiliar but comforting warmth settle in his chest. For the first time, he believed that humans could truly belong somewhere beyond their own kind. That courage and empathy could transcend even the vast differences between species. And as he sank into a calm, reflective silence, he understood that his journey had only just begun. The night had fallen, but the alien home remained alive with a soft, constant glow. Jake sat quietly in a corner of the circular chamber, his thoughts swirling. The trust exercise had been exhausting, yet strangely exhilarating. He felt exposed, vulnerable, yet more connected than he had ever been in his entire human life. Lyria sat beside him, her presence calm and grounding. "You must understand," she said softly, her voice carrying a weight that made him listen intently. "We are not solitary beings. We rely on each other, always. Every action, every decision, every emotion is shared. You see our trust as a test, but it is also our way of living, our way of protecting one another." Jake nodded, though words failed him. Humans live differently. He thought of his friends, his family, the fleeting bonds of human life. Here, centuries of experience had forged connections far deeper, more enduring, and more honest than he could have imagined. Yet somehow he felt that even as a human, he could belong if he proved that he understood. One of the alien women approached, her skin glowing faintly in the dim light. She knelt before Jake, eyes reflecting centuries of life and understanding. "Humans are brief," she said in Lyria's translation, "but some carry a light that endures far longer than their years. You, human, carry that light." Jake's throat tightened. He had never thought of himself as special, never considered that his humanity fragile, limited. Mortal could hold value in a world so vast, so different. Yet here, he was seen, acknowledged, and accepted. The alien woman's words touched something deep inside him, a place he had long left empty for fear and doubt. Lyria continued, "We share everything: memories, emotions, experiences. And now, by being here, by opening your heart, you share too. You have shown that you can respect our ways, our lives, without trying to change them. That is more important than any skill, any strength, any human achievement." Jake looked around the room at the others. They were watching him with quiet intensity, some curious, some reflective, others smiling faintly. He realized that this was not just about him being trusted. It was about him understanding the weight of their trust. They were offering him a place in their lives not as a visitor, but as someone who could truly see them, who could truly care for them. A soft hum began to resonate through the chamber. It was not mechanical, not forced. It felt alive, organic, almost like a heartbeat multiplied 100 times. The alien women closed their eyes, hands brushing the ground, their energy forming an invisible current that filled the room. Jake felt it wash over him, and in that moment, he understood this was more than a home. This was a sanctuary, a living web of connection that had taken centuries to build. And he, a human, had been allowed to step inside to feel its pulse. "I never expected this," Jake whispered, his voice trembling. "I never thought I could feel this, with beings so different from me." Lyria smiled gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Difference is only a surface. Beneath it, life is the same. Fear, hope, joy, sorrow. All these feelings bind us. Humans forget this. But you remembered, and that is why you are here." Jake's chest tightened with emotion. He had always felt small, insignificant in the universe. But here, amidst beings who had lived centuries and seen galaxies change, he felt seen. Truly seen. He felt that his presence, his heart, mattered. As the alien women moved gracefully around him, he realized that their home was not just a physical space. It was a space of truth, trust, and love, the kind of love that did not belong to one being, but to all of them. And somehow, incredibly, miraculously, he had been welcomed into it, for the first time. Jake felt a profound sense of belonging, not just in a home, not just among friends, but in a world far beyond humanity, where empathy and connection were stronger than any weapon, any wall, or any fear. And in that moment, he silently promised himself he would honor their trust, their lives, and the fragile, precious bond they had shared with him. The calm of the night had settled over Lyria's home. But Jake felt a strange tension in the air. He had just begun to relax, feeling the warmth of trust and belonging, when a sudden vibration ran through the floor beneath his feet. A soft, warning hum echoed through the walls, and the glow of the chambers flickered. Lyria's eyes sharpened. "Something approaches," she said quietly. Her tone carried urgency, but also control. Jake instinctively reached for his sidearm, the old human reflex of protection rising within him. But Lyria placed a hand on his chest, stopping him. "Do not use that," she said softly. "We will handle this. You must observe, learn, and trust." Shadows began to move outside the glowing halls. Strange shapes, faster than anything Jake had ever seen, skimming along the walls, their forms flickering like broken light. His pulse quickened. The fear that he had tried to keep at bay in this home surged within him. But he forced himself to stay calm. The alien women moved with fluid precision, forming a protective circle around Jake. Their energy was palpable, visible even in the dim light, like shimmering waves extending from their bodies. They raised their hands, and a translucent shield formed around the chamber, glowing with a warm, protective light. Jake could feel its pulse, a rhythm that matched the very heartbeat of the home itself. What is happening?" Jake whispered, awe and fear mixing in his voice. "They have sensed us," Lyria said. "Predators, hunters, they do not come for us often, but when they do, they come in numbers. Watch and learn." Jake watched, captivated. The alien women moved in perfect harmony, their gestures precise, their energy flowing like water, forming barriers, deflecting attacks before they could even land. The invaders struck, fast and merciless, but each assault was met with a wave of energy. A shift in the shield, a coordinated counter. Jake felt a mix of fear and admiration. These women, his guides, his teachers, were not just protectors. They were a force of nature, graceful yet unstoppable. Suddenly, one of the intruders breached the outer glow. It lunged, dark and jagged, but before it could reach him, a silver-haired woman stepped forward, her hands glowing with power. In one fluid motion, she lifted the intruder, turning it aside with a force that seemed impossible. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he realized the magnitude of what he was witnessing. Lyria's voice cut through the chaos, calm and commanding. "Jake, stay here. Observe, trust us. You are safe with us." He nodded, gripping the edge of a glowing pillar for support. Despite the fear, he felt a strange comfort. These women, centuries older and stronger than any human, had chosen to protect him. They weren't just defending themselves, they were defending him. A human, someone from another world. And in that choice, Jake felt something profound, a validation of his worth. A sense that even humanity, fragile and brief, mattered in this vast universe. The battle continued for what felt like hours. Yet time seemed meaningless in the intensity of the moment. And then, as suddenly as it began, the shadows dissipated. The glowing shields faded, and the chamber's warmth returned. The alien women stood, elegant and serene, their expressions calm, almost proud. Jake's legs felt weak, but his heart swelled with awe. I've never seen anything like that," he whispered. You saved me." Lyria stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We did not save you because you are human," she said softly. "We saved you because you trusted us, because you showed that your heart is true. That is why you belong here." Even for a moment, Jake exhaled, his fear replaced by a strange mixture of relief and wonder. He realized that bravery was not just fighting, it was trusting. It was standing with those who believed in you, and it was honoring the bonds of trust, no matter how fragile or fleeting. For the first time, Jake felt an unshakable certainty. Humans might be fragile, but courage, trust, and empathy could cross any boundary, even the ones between species. And here, in this alien home, surrounded by beings more powerful and ancient than he could ever imagine, he had found something he had never known before, a place where he truly belonged. The dawn of a new day crept softly through the glowing windows of Lyria's home. Jake sat quietly in the circular chamber, still feeling the aftershocks of the previous night's danger. The alien women moved gracefully around him, their steps light and deliberate, their eyes filled with warmth and curiosity. Though the immediate threat was gone, the intensity of what he had experienced lingered in his chest, a steady, unshakable rhythm. Lyria approached, her emerald eyes calm but filled with meaning. "It is time for you to return," she said gently. "But remember, you carry a part of this home within you now, a memory of who we are, of what trust and connection can create." Jake looked around at the alien women, their expressions serene yet solemn. He felt a pang of sadness. He did not want to leave. After only a short time, they had become more than strangers, more than guides. They had become a family of sorts, a living reminder of a world that valued heart, understanding, and unity above all else. One of the women stepped forward and touched his arm lightly. A rush of warmth flooded him, and with it, the subtle understanding of centuries of life, care, and love. For the first time in his life, Jake felt that he was truly seen not as a human, not as a visitor, but as a being worthy of belonging. Lyria's voice broke the silence. You have learned much, human. Courage is not in weapons or power, but in openness and honesty, and the willingness to trust. You have passed our test, not by force, but by heart. That is what makes you one of us, even if only for a short while. Jake swallowed, the weight of emotion pressing on him. Humans often struggle to find their place in the universe, to feel valued beyond survival. But here, in this alien home, he had discovered a truth he would carry forever. Even the smallest human heart could matter in a vast, alien world if it was brave enough to open itself. The alien women gathered around, forming a gentle circle. Their hands brushed the air, and a soft glow enveloped the chamber, bathing Jake in warmth and light. He could feel their lives, their emotions, their trust flowing into him. A silent pledge that he would never be forgotten here. A smile spread across his face, bittersweet and full of gratitude. Lyria placed a hand on his shoulder. You may leave, but this is not a goodbye, she said. Our paths will cross again, and when they do, you will remember that you are welcome here. Always. Jake felt tears prick his eyes. He wanted to say more, to express the depth of what he felt, but words seemed small and insufficient. Instead, he nodded, a silent promise echoing in his heart. He would honor their trust, remember their lessons, and carry this moment with him for the rest of his life. As he stepped toward the glowing doorway that led back to the outside world, he looked over his shoulder one last time. The alien women waved, their eyes bright with life and affection, their forms glowing softly in the morning light. Jake's chest tightened not with fear, but with awe and gratitude. He realized that this home, these beings, and their trust had changed him forever. Crossing the threshold, he felt a strange mixture of emptiness and fullness. Empty because he had to leave, yet full because he had experienced something extraordinary, something few humans could ever imagine. A sense of peace settled over him. He had learned that courage and trust could bridge worlds, that empathy and heart could create bonds stronger than any fear. As he walked back to his ship, he whispered to himself, almost in disbelief, humans may be fragile, but even we can belong somewhere, even among the stars. And with that, Jake turned toward the horizon, carrying the memory of Lyria, her sisters, and the home that had shown him the true power of connection. He knew he would return one day. He knew that this bond, fragile yet eternal, would guide him through whatever challenges awaited in the vast universe. For the first time, he felt not like a visitor in a cold, alien galaxy, but like a part of something greater, a story of life, trust, and belonging that transcended species, time, and distance.